Hi guys, this is Paul Hunter coming at you from Houston, Texas. I'm a realtor here. I've been in Houston for about 7 years. I'm from Colombia, South America, so I know a little bit about high inflation rate, high unemployment, and high interest rates. Today we're covering 4 clear signs as to why this raging seller's market might have peaked. But before, a quick thing. I am not a financial advisor. However, I do appreciate likes, comments, and subscribing to my channel. Let's get started. Okay. Okay, buying a home today has become a bit of a blood sport, rife with bidding wars, pushing offers well over the asking price as buyers scramble to land a house. It's been hard, but every seller's market does eventually have an end. Now it appears that in certain areas, the market pendulum might slowly but surely be swinging back in the direction of the buyer's market. In order to discern a shift, however small, from a seller to a buyer's market in your area, let's first look at what it means to be in a buyer's market or a seller's market. A seller's market is when there are more buyers than homes to be bought. So that's kind of a basic law of supply and demand, and it means that the sellers have the upper hand and can sell their homes quicker at higher prices with little pushback from buyers. There are many conditions that have upheld this current seller's market, which is gaining momentum even after COVID-19 pandemic pushed it into overdrive. Now, what is a buyer's market? A buyer's market is when there are more more sellers than buyers. In other words, there's a lot of inventory and a lot less buyers. So that means that the buyers have the upper hand because buyers can sort of dictate their terms. Now, what makes a seller's or a buyer's market as a definition? So the first thing that is important to understand is that if we have 6 months of inventory, which means the number of homes on the market right now, not one came on this, what we have, if it took 6 months to sell all those homes, that would be a balanced market. So anything less than 6 months, in other words, if they sell faster than 6 months, that's a seller's market. If they sell slower than 6 months, that would be a buyer's market. So we've been seeing actually less than 2 weeks inventory. So that's an extreme seller's market. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still in the seller's market, but the trend is moving towards the buyer's market. And the reason that we can say that is happening is for the 4 reasons that I'm going to mention now. The first thing is that more homes are becoming available. That means that the inventory is growing. Not enough yet to make it a buyer's market, but definitely more than what we had before. It was so restrictive. In other words, there were maybe 5 or 10. I had listings that had maybe 10, 12, 13 offers in one case. So that just means that there's an abundance of buyers and not enough inventory for them to buy. So as a seller, they had the advantage of being able to not pay for anything, not even fixing the house up very much because the buyer would, whatever was out there, the buyer would buy. So that's the first one. The second thing is homes are taking a little longer to sell. Now again, not taking 6 months, but they were days on market. In other words, it was just like 4, 5, 6, 8 days on market, you could sell a home. Now it's more like 15, 25 days on the market. So still very strong seller's market, but again, the trend is going in the direction of the buyer's market. And all that is that there's going to be more inventory, which means that their homes are starting to sit on the market longer. And one of the main reasons for that is, again, as I always mention in my videos, it's about psychology, dude. Economics equals psychology equal economics. So right now, the buyers are not, they're being panicked by the high interest rates and just having to bid over and over and over and lose out. So people just don't want to go through that. So the lagging psychology of the buyer is that there's nothing to be bought right now, so they're not buying. Now the sellers are thinking, well, the interest rates, the market might peak. It's time for me to sell because otherwise I won't be able to get in on the good stuff, like the good equity that a lot of my neighbors have been getting. So their psychology is they want to sell. So again, we have we have more homes being available. In other words, we have a higher inventory, but it's taking a little bit longer to sell. So the third component of this situation is that there are price reductions that we didn't see before. If anything, we were getting pricing above list price. In other words, the seller could put it at 350 and they could get 360, 70, 380, even $400,000 for their home. And buyers would do all kinds of extreme things like appraisal gaps or appraisal waivers, inspection waivers, all that sort of stuff that made it easy for the seller to sell and the buyer assuming all of the costs and the risks. So now we're starting to see some price reductions. Now, why is that? It's because the sellers are starting to panic. And again, psychology. They're starting to see that their neighbor made $30 or $40 or $50,000 on their home, and if they don't in 5 or 6 days, right? So now it's taking 15 to 25 days, and when that happens, they start to panic. So well, maybe my house is a little bit overpriced, so they bring the price down. Maybe not enough yet because we need to get the psychology of the buyers to get into the market. That's not happening yet. So anyway, but we do see price reductions on the upswing, and we're going to see more of that. A lot of homes are valued way above the trend line, so there'll be a correction. Again, the correction happens first in the head, and then it starts to happen in the reality. And then the fourth factor that indicates a peaking of or an inflection point of the seller's market is that we're seeing mortgage applications drop. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is that the interest rates are higher, so a lot of people are not doing the refis that they were doing before. In other words, it used to be cheaper to refinance, and then now it's almost a bad deal to refinance. Not almost, it is a bad deal, and it's actually holding back some of that inventory because if excuse me, if my home is financed at I don't know, 2.75 or 3%, and then I'm going to sell that house, and then I'm going to go buy another house, and now the interest rate's at 5, 6, 7%. That may be a disincentive, so we'll have to pay attention to that. But right now, the mortgage applications are dropping. That means that there's less interest in both refinancing and buying. So that puts the fear of a recession or a fear of losing out in the sellers, which means we'll see more price reductions. We'll see more inventory, and it may take a little bit longer to sell those homes. So what does this all mean? It means that there's always a good time to sell. It's always a bad time to sell. It's always a good time to buy, bad time to buy. It just depends on what your motivation is. Why are you selling? I mean, do you need to sell? Are you moving? Are you going somewhere else? Is your family reducing in size, growing in size? So that just depends on, do you really need to sell your home? And the other thing on the other side of the coin is, you need to buy. Maybe buying is not right now. If you can afford to and wait, you'll probably see some really good, better deals in the future. But nobody has a crystal ball, so interest rates, who knows? Inflation rate is definitely going up, so that's I don't care what anybody says, but again, that's the psychology working plus the reality of economics. It could be volatile. It could be a big crash. But anyway, at this point, no words of crashing. Just what we want to do is make sure that people understand what's going on. It's going back to a buyer's market at some point, or at least a less of a seller's market. When you're out there, guys, you got to be good or you got to be careful.